Rika cosplay was never a thing. Shut your bitch ass up. There was? Nope. We had clips, bro. Full context. Full context. How long until New Year's? Less than 40 minutes. Kind of wish the alcohol was just here so we could go into karaoke first, but I don't think I could do Higurashi after drunk karaoke. I'm pretty sure I just fall asleep. So I want to do the Higurashi now. Alright. Let's go.
腹減りました。途中で食事に寄った方が良かったんじゃないですか？
そうですね。もうすぐ8時か。お昼が遅かったから忘れてました。とりあえず話を聞いたらおたふくにお茶漬けでも食べに行きましょう。
警官を4人行かせてましたよね。
It shouldn't be long. Yeah, but I don't think the alcohol is gonna get here until like 12:20, which is an hour away.
フルデさんが気を利かせて出前でも取っててくれればいいんですがね。
Oishi and Kumagai had passed through Okonomiya and were getting closer and closer to Hinamizawa. They hurried on their way, driving through the dark streets.
フルデリカの全てを話そうっていうのはとても気になるっすよね。
多分相当とんでもない話が飛び出します。あの村はね、本当の名前は鬼ヶ淵ってな沼ですからね。
沼なだけにそこが知れませんね。フルデリカの護衛ですけど、
彼女の話次第では秘密の場所にかくまった方がいいでしょうね。
Oh shit!
ひなみ沢ってのは村が丸ごと魔物の服従と同じなんです。あの村の中では何が起こるかわからない。とにかく聞いてみないことにはわかりません。
フルデ家の当主が命を狙われていて、その崎家次期当主はそれを守ろうと思っている。そんな状況下で誰がフルデリカを？あとは君吉家くらいしか勢力が思いつかないです。
君吉家には臭い話。やっぱり村には信仰を軸にした狂信的な勢力が隠れてるっての。沼の底がどうなってるのか楽しみです。
The road they were on was cutting through the rice fields, leading them to a pass by the scene of Jiro Tomitake's murder.
高野が富武を放置した。そこまでは間違いないと思いますが、富武のあの異常な死に方は一体何だってんでしょう。鑑識のじいさま、覚醒剤は出なかったって言ったんですよね。
確かに薬物反応は出なかったそうですが、だからって絶対なかったって保証はありません。この世にはおかしな薬なんてきっと無数にある。それら全部が間違いなく使われていないなんて保証は誰にも出せませんよ。自分が知らない薬だから実在しないなんて、あったからにはあるんです。だからきっと富武に首をかき破らせる薬は実在する。
Would you say this game is better or worse than Tetris? Better.
そいつは犯人逮捕の折にたっぷり喋ってもらいますよ。あるいはフルでリカが話してくれると一番嬉しいんですがね。な、クマちゃんも今回の岐阜の件で決めつける捜査がどれだけ冤罪を生み出してきたかよく
あいつうちの署に嫌がったら俺でも許さないところです。
結局最後まで間違いは認めてませんからね。岐阜県警はあくまでもあの死体は高野美代だったで通すつもりのようです。でもうちは高野美代生存でいきますよ。あとは県警同士のトップ会談で決着するでしょう。向こうのボンミスは確定してるんですから、認めると怒られると思って 躍起になって上乗りしてるんですよね。いやはや、そういう体質は改めないといけません。
The car suddenly shook. The concrete road had ended, leaving only gravel. At the point where the gravel road begins, you're officially in Hinamizawa. They continued to drive through the woods for a
クマ
while.
ちゃん、ちょいと止めて。
は
Oishi had told him to stop immediately. Kumagai quickly slammed on the brakes. Their seatbelts tightened up, but keeping them in their seats.
どうしたんですか？
あの車、何やってんだろうな。こんなところで。
Oishi tapped on the rearview mirror. There was a van parked just off the road. Rather beat up, it looked like it was used for a private company. There was no reason for someone to park their car here, especially at this time of night. Kumagai also thought it looked suspicious. The car seemed empty, but there was a light flashing in the woods nearby. Probably a
不
flashlight.
審ですね。こんな時間に。それにしてもよく気づきましたね。
いつも言ってます。刑事は四六時中目を皿にしてろってことです。何やってんだろうな。不法投棄かな。まさか死体あるいは車のセンスからしてそれはない。なあ、沖宮 PS どうぞ。なはは。こんばんは、さようなら。
こちら沖宮 PS 関東良好です。
車両ナンバー紹介お願いします。獅子骨ハノ4344。
不詳獅子骨少々お時間もらいますが
お願いします。
おいさん、地図で見るとここ電話会社の施設が。
電話会社の施設って。
It was listed as a facility, but it wasn't staffed. It was just a place where machines were installed. Kumagai wasn't sure how telephone lines actually worked, but either way, it seemed like some kind of connecting device was located there.
普通のワゴンだよな。電話会社にゃ見えます。
電話会社ならそう書いた車で来るはずっすよね。
委託の伝説業者か何かの可能性もあります。直接聞いた方が早そうですね。
Oishi wasn't sure if that was the case. After all, why would any phone company go to do maintenance so late at night?
ちょいと行ってみましょうか。フォルデさんたちを待たせてますからね。パパッ。
そうっすね。
What if Oishi dies here? His well-honed detective instinct was trying to tell him something. This feeling wasn't one that Oishi could easily explain. He had a strong sense that something was suspicious without any real reasoning behind it. Oishi trusted that he could judge others' characters with that sense.
ウグイス2よりウグイス1車両が1台停車2人降りました。おそらく刑事です。そちらへ接近中1分未満で接触します。
It was pitch black, yet they could see the two newcomers clearly. They were probably using a night vision scope.
了解。全隊員ウグイス2から5はグリーンライトを待て。ウグイス7から8は前後 100m のクリアを確認せよ。
待機。ウグイス4、5。聞こえたな。
ウグイス4了解。
ウグイス5了解。
ウグイス7、了解。
Oh god, they're gonna go kill them all.
ウグイス8了解。
ウグイスより本部。ウグイスより本部。電話設備工作中にトラブル。私服警官2名の職質と思われる。発砲許可を申請。
本部了解。許可を待て。
By the time Oishi and Kumagai reached the phone's facility, they were being watched from all directions. There were two pairs of binoculars and two sniper rifles pointing at them. The mountain dog operatives worked in two-man units, a sniper and a spotter, to secure the means of retreat. They had all taken different positions so that they could shoot Oishi no matter where he tried to run. They were all in camouflage suits hiding deep in the woods. Oishi, of course, had no chance of spotting them. The snipers had their rifles trained on the detectives' heads. Oishi and Kumagai had no idea that they were on the verge of losing their very lives. The sniper rifles had their safeties on, but a flick of their thumb would release them. In other words, they were ready to shoot if given the order. The detectives found the fenced-in machinery right behind a parked van. There was a sign there saying that it was the property of Nippon Telegraph and Telephone Corporation, and another sign warning people to keep away.
どうも。
すみません。作業中ですんで入らないでもらえますかね。
There were four men working there wearing blue overalls. They had a toolbox open and were working on some
ど
wires.
うも仕事中お邪魔してすみません。警察の者でございます。いえね、不思議なところに不思議な時間に車が止まっていたもので、どうしちゃったのかなと思いまして。
そうですか。うちらももうちょっとで終わりますんで。
おたくらどちらさんです？電電の人じゃないでしょ
ああ、失礼しました。おこのぎ電気設備工事と申します。あれすいません。名刺を切らしちゃって。
う。おこのぎ電気設備工事さんって会社どちらです？
はい。沖宮になりますけど。
会社の電話番号と住所を教えてくださ
い。なんでそんなこと聞きますか？
電話番号忘れちゃいました？
Oishi looked at them with a piercing glare. Their response was very suspicious. Usually the vehicle of an electric company is full of various types of electrical equipment and repair tools. However, the van parked there had nothing inside and it looked just like an ordinary car. Also, a company vehicle usually has the name of the company painted on it. But this one was just a plain van with no markings on it. None of that was the reason that Oishi found them suspicious though. It was their attitude that bothered him. They didn't sound nor look like typical contractors. They were obviously not electricians. It was far too late in the day and there were far too many of them. They were also clearly suspicious of Oishi. However, that was all he could tell just by looking around. He found them suspicious but had no idea what they were up to. One of the men told Oishi the phone number. Kumagai wrote down the number so he could ask the station to call and confirm it was real.
私らそんな怪しいもんじゃありませんって。
あんたら怪しすぎですって。一体何者です？委託業者なら作業写真用に作業前作業後とか書かれた黒板とかあったりするでしょう。そういうのもないですし、だいたいあんたたちの雰囲気が違いすぎます。
おまわりさん、そんな意地悪言われちゃかなわないです。勘弁してください。私ら早く作業を終えて帰らなきゃならないんです。
Judging from the progress, it didn't look like they'd be cleaning up anytime soon. In fact, it almost seemed like they were just getting started.
もう化けの皮は剥がれてんだよ兄ちゃん。電気屋に化けるときはまずバイトして勉強してからにしな。
Oishi raised his voice threateningly. Members of the mountain dogs gradually started to look more and more annoyed. Oishi looked over their expressions and gave them a big wide grin. However, Oishi had no idea. He thought he could handle these suspicious people with no issues. And of course, in reality, they were horrific demons that he had no chance against. Meanwhile, Kumagai was heading back to the car. He was intending to contact the police department. He was going to call the station using the radio, then in turn the police department would contact the NTT. That way it would become clear who they were really dealing with.
本部よりウグイス1発砲許可。
ウグイス7クリア。ウグイス8クリア。
Sniper was still aiming at Kumagai's head as he headed back toward the car. The safety that last line protecting Kumagai's life was disengaged. Sniper put his finger on the trigger. He was wearing a glove with the fingertips cut out. The finger poking through the hole was very rough and merciless. For as soon as he slightly moved that finger, he would take someone's life.
ウグイス1より狙撃班オールグリーン。
Kumagai heard a quiet noise. It was similar to the sound of a jump rope that he used to use as a whip when he was little. And that was the last thought Kumagai had in this world. Kumagai collapsed onto the grapple. That was it. He didn't even twitch. Oishi was laying on his back on the concrete after getting shot in the chest. His lungs were filled with blood which began to pour out of his mouth. Oishi only realized that he had been shot when the world began to blur before his eyes. As his world keeled over, he saw a man in a work uniform leveling a gun at him, but it didn't matter anymore as he started drowning in his own blood. Bro, no way.
沖宮 TS より大石社どうぞ。先ほどのナンバーが判明しました。大石社どうぞ。大石社応答願います。電波大石社応答願。
出ませんね。大石さんが車両紹介？誰の車だよ。村人の車ですね。至って平凡な。何者？大石さんが聞いてくるからにはただ者じゃないんだろ。突起事項欄はS 号して減点もなしだし。
バッシングでもされて腹が立ったんじゃないの？あの人根に持つとなかなか忘れないタイプなんだよ。
ウグイスより本部2名を射殺。作業を再開。
本部了解。警官の車両処理は慎重に行われたし、3佐ウグイスは警官2名を排除。作業を再開。
おやすみなさい、大石さん。
Damn. Okay, Takano.
私の尻尾をつかめてもう一息だと思ったでしょうに。残念ね。コーヒーをもらえるかしら。
どうぞ。しかし厄介な展開になってきましたね。R 宅には以前私服警官数名とそれから友人数名がいるそうです。 R は自分が今夜殺されることに感づいているとしか思えません。作戦が漏れています。やはり決行は延期すべきでは。
明日の朝には死体が見つかっていないといけないのよ。お偉いさんたちの日程上、その日が一番都合がいいって話なんだから、作戦は決行します。
Bro, Mion needs to fucking call the entire goddamn Sonozaki corpse. The crucial part of this final mission was the death of Rika and what came after that. They couldn't just kill her whenever they wanted. Doing it at the right time was vital.
山犬による過剰な警備にかえって過敏に反応したのでしょうか。
違うわね。漏洩じゃない。予言よ、あれは。富武の死と、そして私ですら知り得なかった偽装死体の状態まで知っていた。あの子は女王なのよ。南沢の頂上存在の頂点に立つ女王で、巫女で降臨したるお社様の血脈に連なる。神を欺くことなどできない。フルでリカをあっさり暗殺などできるわけがなかった。いいわよ、リカちゃん。あなたと私、どちらがお社様の伝説を受け継ぐにふさわしいか。
Takano wants to be Oyashiro-sama so bad. Hey, Raiden, ZZZZ, thank you. Happy New Year to you as
あなた
well.
の死はお社様のたたりの最後を飾り、この村の伝説のフィナーレを飾る。私の作り上げた物語はその時こそ本当のたたりになるの。
It was now past 8 p.m. Mion ordered some noodles for us, her treat. We also ordered some food for the 4 officers and we all ate together. We were supposed to call it a night as soon as we talked to Oishi, but he's still not here. However, we all took it easy, assuming that they'd get here sooner or later. It's getting late. Once you get to Hinamizawa, there aren't many places to get something to eat. I'm sure they're having a quick dinner before coming here. However, the 4 officers seem anxious. They all had families, but Oishi didn't tell them how late they'd have to be out here. They're hoping that Oishi will bring other officers to relieve them so they can go home. They called the station, but all they said was that Oishi was on his way, and we should wait, because he'll be here soon.
遅いね、大石さん。渋滞にでもちょうど帰宅ラッシュの時間帯にぶつかっただろうからね。おまわりさんもお昼からずっといてくれてるんですのよね。交代が来てあげないとかわいそうですわね。
そうだな。何時に終わるのかもわからない仕事って疲れるもんな。
Well, maybe the massacre is everybody dying.
私たちが夜景にでも立ちます？聡子のトラップワークで不審者の接近を阻むとか。甘いですわね、シオンさん。ここは私とリカの家なんでしてよ。常に二重三重のトラップが張り巡らせてありますわ。そうなんだ。神社で遊ぶときは注意しないとね。
With our stomachs full, the mood in the house had returned to a lighthearted one. True, we shouldn't be so relaxed, but knowing that Oishi would be here shortly made us feel relieved. But he's so late. He said he'd be here in an hour. Mion mentioned he might have gotten stuck in traffic, but I'm sure Oishi was considering that. That's why he told me it'd take him about an hour, and it had now been 1 hour since the time Oishi was supposed to get here. I want to believe that he's getting something to eat on the way, but I'm starting to get concerned. Don't just sit around, Rika. Oishi still hasn't showed up. It's almost 11 o'clock. The officers are completely exhausted. They had even started to smoke cigarettes outside. My friends are becoming tired too. Tatako is yawning. It's way past her bedtime. Everyone else is getting tired and sleepy. We've been spending our time watching TV and reading manga. I can feel my fears coming to sleepiness. Today is almost over. I'm going to survive the day I'm supposed to die. Does that mean I escape my deadly fate? No, I'll have to fight endlessly from tomorrow on. I was going to discuss that with Oishi. Since he's not here, I don't know what to do from this point on. Suddenly, the phone rang, breaking the silence.
大石さんか。
もしもし、フルでなのです。
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。
沖宮署、すみません。うち、
いいえ、僕たちもずっと待っているところなのです。
そうですか。わかりました。申し訳ございませんが、そちらに行っている警官に今から応援が行くので、引き継いだら祈祷するようお伝えいただけますか。
わかりましたです。それで、大石はどこに？
夕方頃、直接そっちへ行くと連絡があったきりだったので、大石と交代で警官たちが戻ってくることになってたのですが、いつまでも戻らないのでどうなっているのかと思いまして。
That's what I'd like to know, but arguing with the man on the phone wouldn't accomplish anything. I hung up and gave the message to the officers downstairs. Looks like everyone already heard our exchange on the phone.
どうしたんでございましょうね。遅いにも程がありましたよ。
何か重要な仕事があったりして道草でも食ってるとか？
それなら電話すると思うな。これから行くって電話したんだよ。これだけ遅くなったら絶対に電話してくれると思うな。
まさか東京って連中に
Mion, lock
襲わ
the
れたと
fuck
かか？
in, please. Oh my god.
まさか
と言いたいところですが、リカちゃまの言うような連中が相手なら絶対そんなわけないとも言い切れないのが怖いところです。多分急
Shut
用
the
が入ったん
fuck
だ
up,
よ。
Mion.
それで電話をするのを忘れてるんだと思う。向こうも大の大人、そうそう簡単には消されないって。
来るなら早く来。はあ。
Satsuko yawned. Everyone laughs, but some of them are trying not to yawn themselves. We can't stay up forever. We decided that we'd call it a night once the replacement officers arrived. I'm sure I've survived past the time I was supposed to die. It's probably because the police were protecting me. Perhaps both Takano and the mountain dogs are also on my side and they took care of the murderer. I don't know who is changing my fate. Maybe my fate hasn't been changed and I'm going to get killed soon anyway. I don't know if it's because of the police or because of mountain dogs, but the only thing I know for sure is that I'm still alive. Soon I heard the noise of someone walking on gravel on the shrine grounds. One of my friends suggested it might be Oshi, but I doubt it. I don't want to expect him and disappointed when it's not. I'm starting to think like Hanyu.
こんばんは。沖宮署から参りました。小宮山と申します。
It wasn't Oishi. Two of his fellow detectives had arrived instead. They were going to stay downstairs and have 4 officers return home. Oh my god, they also told my friends to
あ
leave.
とは私たち警察がいますので、どうぞ皆さんは家に帰ってください。
She's dead as fuck.
ご家族の方が心配します。
みんなありがとうです。刑事さんたちが来てくれましたし、もう大丈夫なのです。
She doesn't know she's fucking fighting special forces military.
本当に大丈夫。邪魔でなければ私たちも泊まるよ。
大丈夫なので、第一、お布団も寝巻きもないのです。じゃあ明日。これからはなるべくリカちゃんと一緒にいるようにしよう。部活はリカちゃんの家でやるっていうのでどうかな。あら、それなら素敵でございますわよ。僕たちの家の床が抜けてしまうかもしれませんです。
違いねえな。
じゃあリカちゃま、私たちこれで帰りますけど、用心してください。
I just don't get it. Rika literally says she might fucking die today. Why not just like be extra secure and just, I don't know, fucking call the Yakuza that you guys have control of?
暗闇で一人になるなんてことは絶対しないように。
気をつけますです。じゃあね。また明日。
By the way, Rena goes missing last chapter. They deploy the entirety of the Yakuza to fucking patrol all of Hinamizawa looking for her. Meanwhile, Rika says she's gonna fucking die. And they're like, let's just couple of police officers. It's fine. Like, what is this logic?
また明日。
You ain't seeing nobody tomorrow. You're dead in 5 minutes. Am I really going to see them tomorrow? I have no clue. I've tried so many things over the past 100 years. I've done many things and I have memories of the most of them. That's why I feel so scared on the day I die. It's the only day that I have no memory of. I don't even know if I'm approaching or escaping my death right now. All I know is that this fear is going to continue until I find some kind of solution. As I started getting ready to go to bed, Satoko suggested I should sleep in my regular clothes rather than in my pajamas. She was thinking that I should remain dressed just in case someone tries to attack me in my sleep. Sounded ridiculous, but she was just trying to be considerate. I decided to do what she told me to do. Satoko seemed so sleepy until a few minutes ago, but she suddenly started passionately explaining to me all the traps she set on the shrine grounds. She assured me that the strangers will end up trapped if they try to sneak inside this building. To someone else, it might sound like she was just trying to brag, but Satoko was trying to make me feel better. After everyone else left, she noticed how scared I looked. Satoko's kindness and everyone else's kindness, I feel it was the right decision for me to talk to my friends, even if that won't end up changing my fate.
Rika.
Anya showed up again. She looked upset, so she was probably still thinking that I could get killed at any minute. I don't know, Rika. Maybe send Hanyu's ghost ass to find where the fuck Oishi is. Or maybe tag along with Oishi until he gets here. Like, why? What is the purpose of having a fucking, actually, OP can be anywhere at any time ghost if you don't fucking use her? Like, Hanyu doesn't fucking do anything, this bum. But I'm actually starting to feel a little better. Maybe Hanyu is chained to Rika? No, they literally said Hanyu just sometimes spends the day and follows a random villager and fucking, watches them and giggles. And, disappears from Rika for a while. So, Hanyu is fully autonomous, can do whatever the fuck she wants, but you're telling me she doesn't fucking go around looking for fucking Oishi or anything? Doesn't scout the grounds ahead of time and be like, oh my god, Rika, there's some spec ops coming. She doesn't do anything! What the fuck does she do? I'm more concerned about the fact that Oishi didn't show up. Still, even if he didn't, the other detectives are here, and he will stay on the guard downstairs without sleeping. As long as they're here, I think I'll be safe tonight. Hanyu would usually treat me or cheer right up. I suggested drinking some juice, but not this time. Her face looked pale, as if she wasn't even alive. Something out of the ordinary had clearly happened. It sounded far more like a declaration than a prediction. Even Hanyu doesn't have any memories of my death. There's no way she can tell I'll be killed. However, she sounded so certain just now. Perhaps we can feel it in the very cells of our body. Our bodies understand fate far better than we do. Up until now, I felt reassured that we could get through it somehow if we're all together. But as I clung to that life preserver with a hole leaking air, I was starting to drown in a sea of despair and struggling to keep my head above the water. No, I can't let myself feel that way. Rika's bitch ass gonna fight to survive until 12:01. And then she'd be like, oh, I was right. Hanyu just gave me a look of faint sadness. That silence told me that my pitiful fate was going to push me down into a futile reality. I stared at Satoko as she continued to brag about her traps. If I'm getting killed shortly, Satoko won't be safe either. I quickly interrupted her talk about traps. The time was 1 in the morning. Oh my god, she did technically get through the day. And it's hardly a big city. As it's hardly a big city, 1 a.m. in Himzawa is the middle of the night. The darkness here gets very deep. There was light leaking out from the first floor where 2 detectives sat on guard, but everything else was pitch black. Even the moonlight seemed indistinct.
予定時刻です。1階には刑事2名、2階は消灯してすでに1時間以上が経過します。本部より3佐。
こんなに月の綺麗な夜だもの。始めなさい。
刑事は排除でよろしいですか？
そうね。今夜古出神社にいた人間は全てが忽然と姿を消し、それでいいわ。
本部より大鳥。作戦開始。保証の刑事2名は実力で排除せよ。なお発砲は許可しない。繰り返す。発砲は許可しない。本部よりウグイス、大鳥が作戦を開始する。電話線を遮断せよ。
ウグイス了解。遮断する。
They had begun working to disable the phone lines just in case their target tried to contact the police during the attack. That mission was what Oishi happened to bump into.
ほんじゃ、大鳥湾より全隊員へ。突入準備。1階の刑事2名と2階の同伴者1名を排除せよ。痕跡を残せん。
Oh,
発砲禁止。ガスも使えんね。テーサーを使え。単銃で武装してるぞ。撃たせるな。
おこのぎ。素人相手に手こずらないでよ。
まあ仕事ですんで。大鳥7、8前進。バックアップは周辺警戒を厳重にされたし。
大鳥7前進する。
The two men in uniform slowly approach the building. The mountain dog's uniform is gray, so it didn't blend in with their surroundings at all. However, it doesn't look as suspicious as real camouflage suits. Of course, they look suspicious enough creeping up to the house like that anyway. They could both see light leaking from the door and hear the voices of the detectives. Rika would typically use the sliding door to get inside. The door was locked, but the mountain dogs had obtained a spare key a long time ago. They put the key in the keyhole, but it wouldn't go in smoothly. They were certain it would make some kind of noise when they turned it. The detectives would notice them the minute they did that. They'd have to rush inside and defeat them in one swift burst. Phoenix 7 and 8 glanced at each other.
大鳥7より本部突入指示を請う。
高野です。綺麗に決めるのよ。行きなさい。
了解。
Please, something go wrong. I want Takano to die.
突入する。
He turned the key in a hurry and opened the lock. By the time the detectives turned around, the door was already open and two mountain dogs had stepped inside. They had aimed their weapons at the detectives while the latter were still turning around. In a fight like that, the first 2 seconds are the most crucial moments. The detectives collapsed, making minimal noise. There were needles stuck in their bodies, and those needles were connected via wires to the attackers' guns. In other words, the weapons those two had weren't ordinary guns. They were stun guns in the shape of firearms. Instead of bullets, they shoot out electric needles that electrocute their victims into unconsciousness. Normally, they would be non-lethal weapons that allow the shooter to capture their victim without harming them much, but their tasers have been modified. The two dogs started walking up the stairs as soon as they confirmed that the detectives were no longer breathing. Yeah, good fucking trap, Satoko. But in the next moment, they heard a loud noise above them.
こちら大鳥店 R 以下2名が感づいた2階の窓から飛び降りたぞ裏の茂みへ逃走している大鳥4、5そっちへ行くぞ制圧しろ
Come on.
大鳥4沈黙
Phoenix 4 spotted the two girls and started after them, but he suddenly stepped on something hard. Oh! With a cheap-sounding explosion, the area was filled with smoke. Oh my god, Satoko! That was the trap Satoko had said, using firecrackers. Wait, hold up, chat. Alright. That had proven to be a very fortunate idea. The mountain dogs dropped to the ground, assuming that they were under fire. Actually, being too trained being a hindrance. That gave Rika and Satoko a chance to escape.
リカの言う東京なんですの？多分ね、いいから走って捕まったら殺されるわよ。
どうした応答しろ今の音は何だ
こちら大鳥5銃撃を受けた模様 R は突破した追撃するく
そ感触玉か何かだ畜生め
さとこちゃんねやるわね
Professional special forces falling for a 9-year-old's traps. What the fuck is this shit, bro? This is more embarrassing than fucking Home Alone.
ああ情けな近場の班は急行しろ人家に
大鳥18発見した追跡中応援を
二人は土地勘が強いわよ早く抑えないと確実に見失うわ
Please, please expose Takano. This wasn't a game of hide and seek, it was a game of tag. Several men in uniform were chasing Rika and Satoko. They weren't idiots, so they didn't waste energy on futile actions of shouting, wait. This was a quiet, deadly game of tag in the middle of the night.
どこへ行きますの？バラバラになって落ち合うのはミーの家。地下の隠し部屋なら安全だし、外部と連絡も取れますです。
Satoko had no idea that Mion had a basement in her house, but she didn't have time to ask anything about it under her current circumstances. All she did was nod. Bang! The next moment, I felt my left foot catch on something and I fell down to the ground. No, I must have tripped on a rock or a piece of concrete. But Satoko wouldn't move on without me. She came back to lend me a hand. I stood up without her help, but this cost us too much time. One of the men had caught up with us. I didn't know what to do, but Satoko, upon seeing him, quickly reacted. Satoko ran towards him and kicked him with all her might. Ah, she should have kicked him in the balls. Her foot had landed right in his face, but there were two more of them right behind the first man. I can see them clearly now. They're the gardeners from that landscape company. They're wearing the same uniforms Okonoki is always wearing. They must be the mountain dogs. Now I'm certain that Takano is the culprit. And now that I know that, I can do something about it in the next world. But if I die now, will I lose my memory again? I can't die now. I need to survive so I can keep my memories. Satoko took something out of her pocket and threw it at them. It was something like sand and it blinded them. However, even that could only buy us a few seconds. Satoko tried to run, but she froze as soon as they aimed their weapon at us. The stun guns are only shaped like firearms. Satoko, not knowing that, thought they were real guns. Knowing that she'll be shot at if she turned and ran, Satoko tried to attack them instead. Of course, there are 3 of them. Most would think it's impossible to drive them off, but Satoko didn't think about that. She had a 100% chance of dying if she tried to run. Then she might as well fight back because she might have a 1% chance of defeating them. Satoko is determined to save me, even at her own expense, but I can't stay in this world if it means losing Satoko. I'm dying anyway. I'd rather die for Satoko's sake than lose her. But another me was shouting in my mind, if I don't survive this, I'll lose this memory. If I die without keeping this memory, this life and everything I've learned will all be wasted. Should I escape and leave Satoko behind? That's right. I should use this experience to my advantage in my next life. I should just let go of her in this world. Holy shit, Happy New Year's, chat! Happy New Year's! Satoko's bravery gives me courage. If I left her, I'd lose my motivation to defeat fate. I don't care if I lose my memories. It only took 100 years for me to get this information. I don't care if I have to spend another 100 years in this same June. I can't leave Satoko. I had noticed something. They're only aiming at Satoko. There must be a reason why they can't shoot me. So I stood in front of Satoko to protect her. Just as I expected, they put their guns down and prepared to take us without weapons. I skipped a choice? No, I don't. It would have showed up. Wait, I did? Where? You did when you said Happy New Year's? No shot, bro. What the hell, dude? It shouldn't have let me go past if it was an actual choice that mattered.
私もバカね。あんたたちの正体を知りながら逃げることを選ばないなんて。
You don't actually get to choose, it chooses for you. Okay, no, that's what I thought because, chat, all I'm pressing is right arrow. That only makes it progress. If there are actual choices that I can make, it doesn't let me just press right arrow. Like, it would force me to choose something. I know who you are, but I choose not to run.
私は逃げないの。ここであんたたちに殺されるのが運命なんてね、教えてくれた人がいるから。
They must think this is my final speech. They let me talk until I was finished.
バカな奴らね。だからあんたたちは金魚が救えないんだ。
The next moment, one of them dropped to the ground. Keiichi had run towards it. Oh my god! It kicked him from behind. Keiichi had kicked him right in the small of his back, and the dog was squirming on the ground. The other two tried to retaliate, but they were too late. Oh shit! Mion grabbed one of the guy's arms from behind and flipped him down to the ground. It must be some kind of martial art. I've seen something like that in an action movie before. Okay, so Special Forces just got jumped by a bunch of 12-year-olds. Special 12-year-olds? Oh, okay, yeah, true. They're special. They're so special it trumps years and decades of training into Spec Ops. Ah, yep. Rena tried to push the remaining dog down with all her strength, but that wasn't enough to take him out. He tried to aim his gun at Rena, but she had already done what she was supposed to do. All she needed to do was get his attention. Shion had snuck up behind and she fired her stun gun into his neck. Oh shit, Shion's stun gun! The stun gun made a snapping noise and the dog fell down to the ground with the rest of his friends.
ダサイのやつ改造済みとは言ってたけど、こりゃ効きます。シオン、こっちの連中にもお願い。
大丈夫か。まさに危機一髪だったな。お前らの足が速いんで追いつくのに苦労したぜ。
ずっと待っててよかったね。張り込んでた甲斐があったよ。張り込んでたって、あの後お家へ帰らず。
Okay. So you're telling me the special forces also didn't detect the 12-year-olds not actually leave the temple grounds? Alright, bro. Okay. Takano, honestly embarrassing. If I was Takano, I would just like fucking I would hang up my uniform, give up. Be done there, you know? Hang on, chat. Hang on. Okay. Wait. So someone who looked suspicious staring at the shrine when we were leaving.
いやー、よく見つけたよな。あの暗闇で。レナには嘘も迷彩も通用しないってことだな。
So figuring he would leave if they spoke to him, they secretly staked out that suspicious man. They started following us as soon as they heard the sound of us, the firecrackers. Can they get moving? Like, there's like fucking 10 more teams. Thank you, Keiichi.
私たちミオ地下でかくまってもらえるとかいう話で。地下最後殿ですか？確かにあそこなら都合がいいです。しかもあそこ武器も隠してませんでしたっけ？そういうのは言わない。とにかく私もうちに逃げ込むのは賛成。あそこには秘密の通路がいくつもあるから連中の裏をかけるよ。
なら急ごう。追っ手が来てる。
A white van was approaching us at high speed. It obviously belonged to the mountain dogs. The van stopped not far from us and more people in uniforms jumped out. There were at least 6 of them. If we all run, the slowest runner might get caught, so we should take them down while we can. I don't know if they have a license, but Mion and Shion know how to drive a car. We can take their van and get away from here.
6人だ。
They're turning this into a club activity? I mean, okay, now if the Spec Ops lose, then it's just ridiculous. This is a straight up fucking face-off. Like, there's no surprise here. This is just...
ちょうどいいね。全員の全力でぶちのめして車をいただこう。
Okay, now they're... Alright.
それは明暗ですわね。
そうと決まりゃ速攻だぜ。
The mountain dogs were ready to chase us. They had no idea that we would try and attack them instead. Rena is always the first one to make a move in this kind of situation. She gets so determined once a decision is made. She immediately singled out one dog and punched him in the nose. Hey, rhinos are dope. They go to 50 biddies. Special forces are losing in martial arts to 12-year-olds. All right.
おいおいレナ、やり合うときは背中を気にしろよ。
ケイイチ君に任せるよ。よろしくね。レナさんの茨城時代ってめちゃくちゃ興味あります。というか、人殴るのに躊躇なさすぎ。 スタンガン使うのに躊躇ないあんたが言わない。
Given that Shion had the stun gun, the mountain dogs were reluctant to go after her. They were scared of the very dangerous weapon she had in her hand. What happened to their tasers? I'm just genuinely confused right now. Hello, you guys have ranged weapons. What is going on? But thanks to that, Shion had stopped one of them for certain. It was fortunate for us that they didn't have any guns of their own. Oh, God. What? Special forces all just fucking came with fists? They came for fisticuffs? Satoko attacked him from behind. She encircled his neck with a jump rope and pulled. Where the fuck does Satoko get a jump rope? Out of her infinite expanding pocket? What was I doing during all that? The only thing I can do is run around to try to get their attentions. They're pursuing me after all. They want to catch me more than anything else, but that leaves them open to attacks from my friends. Keiichi had already hit the one trying to grab me. I think we have a chance here. We have not beat... bro, I hope we get fucking Takano POV. She's like, Phoenix 1 to HQ. A bunch of 12-year-olds are beating the fuck out of us. Takano's just like, what? What's happening? We may not be able to take all of them down, but we can try and find a chance to escape to their vehicle.
リカちゃんから話を聞いていたとき、とんでもねえ奴らだとビビっていたが、どうやら俺たち
兄ちゃんの部活メンバーはつまりそのくらい強いってことなんだね。恐れないというのが多分強さの秘密ですね。お姉の部活は遠慮ってやつをなくす訓練みたいなもんですから。
If we all fight together, we can win this 6-on-6 battle. If any of us wasn't here, they'd beat us easily. We'd end up dead. If my friends hadn't stayed behind, I would have been killed by now. We can do it, we can make it. The dogs Shion took down with their stun gun were starting to wake up. The ones that we knocked out earlier were also up and chasing us again. We have to get out of here. This isn't the time for me to just be running around.
ちょうどいいわ、やってやる。リカ、羽生。 あなたは諦めない悪あがきがどれだけの力を持つかそこで見てなさい。私は打ち破る。私たちは打ち破る。今からね。それをあなたの目の前で見せてあげる。よし、みんないいね。一撃で決めるよ。目の前の敵を一人撃ち倒せ。それから車を奪って逃げる。はいです。僕もやりますですよ。
気に入ったぜ、リカちゃん。よっしゃ、行くぞ。
On Keiichi's signal, we attacked 6 of the mountain dogs in unison. Time gradually slowed down. I truly felt like I was trying to overcome that impossible wall of time and change my fate. However, time continued to slow even further until it stopped. What's going on? It felt like the film reel of a movie had gotten hung up part way through, like time itself had come to a standstill.
羽生、どういうこと？ その時が来たのです。どうして？
Wearing a sad expression, Hanyu pointed at Keiichi. I finally noticed something. All my friends had noticed already, except for Keiichi.
ケイチ、その胸の前に浮いているのは何ですか？
A bullet.
何ってなんだよ。あ？これなんだよ。
Time had stopped just when Keiichi was about to hit his opponent. He then realized that something was floating in front of his heart. It was a metallic silver cone. That was the first thing I could think of.
嘘。ケイちゃん。
It might be a sniper bullet.
なんだよ、これ。まさか。銃弾？
That's exactly what it was. The bullet had stopped about 15 centimeters away from Keiichi's chest just before it would enter his body. That's right, once time starts moving again, it will slam into his chest. In other words, it's too late. Keiichi will immediately die when time starts up again.
誰が撃ったの？だって相手は6人。誰も銃なんか持ってないよ。あそこ、ワゴン車のところですわ。
Satoko couldn't point at the van. Time had completely stopped after all. We could see another person standing near the van. There had actually been 7 people inside, not 6. That 7th person was the one who fired the bullet. We hadn't seen her at all. That person is someone we all know very well. Nah, this bitch Takano.
高野さんだ。高野さんが撃ったの？圭一君は？
The frozen world, Takano was smiling, still aiming her gun at Keiichi. Takano had been watching us from the van this whole time. She came out and fired her gun knowing that we hadn't seen her at all.
そっか。なるほどな。
Okay. If Keiichi somehow dodges this bullet, then it's just like, okay, I mean, that point it's just fucking... Takano's just gonna be like, alright, I give up.
やっぱり黒幕は高野さんだったんだな。
どうしよう。ケイちゃん、なんとか体をひねってかわせないんですか？
バカ。弾丸だって止まるくらいに俺だって動けるわけがねえだろ。
なら時間が動き出すのと一緒に上半身をそらすんですの。そうすれば少しでも違うかもしれませんわよ。
Everyone was desperate to save Keiichi. However, no matter how hard we thought, we couldn't come up with any ideas to save him from the bullet. We were so desperate that Keiichi started to laugh.
なんかよくわからないけどさ。とにかくこうなっちまったものは仕方がない。時間が動き出せば俺は死ぬだろ。死ななくてもまあ少なくとも戦力にはならなくなるな。だからみんな今のうちに俺のことを諦めろ。そして目の前の敵と高野さんをぶちのめして車を奪うことを考えるんだ。
圭一が死んでもダメです。そんな世界は嫌なのです。羽生、これが運命だというの？避けられない運命だというの？
So, Casper the fucking ghost here couldn't tell Rika Takano's in the van with a gun. She's just like, ow, 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 oh no, oh. Like, bro, Hanyu is literally the most useless motherfucker. She literally single-handedly can stop everything because she's omnipresent. But she doesn't want to, because I'm 100% of the opinion that Hanyu is the fucking villain here. Because she has all the power to help Rika escape this, but then Rika would go on, live a happy life, and die, and then leave Hanyu again alone for the fucking 10 billion generations. So Hanyu wants to keep Rika with her as long as possible.
大丈夫ですよ、リカ。忘れられます。忘れられますから。嘘だよ、嘘だ。ケイちゃんがこのまま死んじゃうなんて。
Why is that okay, Hanyu? I don't want. This is why, bro. Hanyu's fucking.
やめなよ、みーちゃん。とにかく目の前の相手を倒すことに集中しよう。倒れる圭一君に振り返る時間をきっと圭一君は望まない。
ああ、そうだぜ、レナ。頼むぞ、みんな。リカちゃんをまずはこの場を逃げ延びて監督に連絡を取れ。多分こいつらは大石さんをもう殺してる。だからあれだけ待っても来なかったんだ。みんな生き延びろよ。絶対だ。
圭一！
リカちゃん、最後の最後に運命なんて覆せるって大見え切っておきながら最初にリタイアしちまう。
It sounded just like Takano's regular laughter, but it was the scariest noise I'd ever heard.
根性の名残は尽きた？
高野さん、これで俺たちが負けたと思うなよ。
見終わったのね、走馬灯。
Silence suddenly ended and the clamor of reality returned. An explosive sound then hit Keiichi straight in the chest. I watched Keiichi collapse right in front of me. He fell down on his back while his blood splattered everywhere, and after that he stopped moving. There's no way any of us weren't shocked by that. We tried to take down the foes in front of us, but more came from behind. We tried to struggle as best as we could, but there was no way we could win against all those adults. I did my best to fight them off, but they pulled my hair and picked me up as if I weighed nothing. I heard everyone's desperate screams of resistance. The comforting and courageous unity we showed right before Keiichi was shattered like glass. The debris of that glass lay sadly on the ground. Takano's annoying laughter was still echoing inside my ears.
高野より本部へ。制圧したわ。私の言ったものを準備させて。それから死体がたくさん出るから処分の手配を。死体袋が5つと血を流すのに水がいるわね。持ってこさせて。
She needs 5 bags? My body froze up, but time did not. Takano laughing pointed her gun at Mion's head.
嘘でしょ。あなたの背中の入れ墨、一度見てみたかったの。後で見せてもらうわね。見たければ勝手に見ればいいでしょ。見たってつまらないよ。そう？私は楽しいと思うわよ。やめて！みーちゃんを撃たないで！
Well, so this is the massacre chapter. All her fucking friends get killed. Takano shook her head in response to Rena's scream.
ダメよ。ミオンちゃんが部長さんなんだから一番じゃなきゃね。嘘。やめ。
There was a dull noise followed by Mion's body twitching. We all tried to break free from the men restraining us as Takano calmly shot Mion. However, they were too strong and all we could do was squirm like insects. Takano was enjoying us watching us struggle. She then stepped towards Satoko, but Shion started screaming curses at her.
あなたが先に撃たれたいのかしら。おとなしくしてればもう数秒は余計に生きられたのに。やめてシオンさん。
This Takano bitch need to die.
挑発なんかしても意味がありませんでしたよ。
I know why she's doing that. Shion wants to protect Satoko for as long as she can. She's trying to do what Satoshi told her to. Takano didn't care one whit for Shion's feelings. Stepping over Keiichi's body, she approached Shion.
私、サトシ君をあんたが殺したんですね。そうなんでしょ。あいにくね、メイドの土産って嫌いなの。
Now, Chad, we know she did, cause like everything up until now basically is answered by the fact that Takano wants the curse of Oyashiro-sama to really fucking be perpetuated. And that we found out that the mountain dogs have been around since the dam conflict. And if that's the truth, that means Takano's been around since then, which means Takano has probably arranged for every fucking murder. Or disappearance. Shion's body twitched. That had followed the dull sound of another gunshot. Just 2 dull sounds had stolen away the lively Sonozaki sisters. It didn't add up. I started shaking from fear when it hit me just how easily Takano can take away lives.
無抵抗の人を撃って楽しいの？この人でなし！
あら、次はあなたが撃たれたいの？黙ってれば最後の順番になったのに。
Keiichi, Mion, and Shion died. The oldest one of us left was Rena. Rena didn't want to see Satoko and me die before she
連
did.
続開始事件は全部高野さんの仕業だったんですね。お社様のたたりの代行者のつもりだったんですか？
代行者じゃないわ。私がたたりを下すのよ。あなたには見せられないわね。お社様の怒りがこれからこの村に下るのは、それは私が起こす私のたたり。そう、私はまさにお社様そのものになるのよ。その時、私は人としての域をようやく超えることができるの。まあ、あなたには私の気持ちはわからないでしょうね。人を超えて神になろうとする心地よさなど、誰にも理解できないわよ。
無理だと思うな。高野さんがどれだけお社様のふりをしたって、所詮はごっこ遊び。お社様になんかあなたはなれ
るわよ。これからなるもの。
Ah ha 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 ha. Rena laughed at her. Takano seemed very upset to hear that laugh.
何がおかしいのかしら。
無理だよ。だってお社様はいるんだもの。
Oh, bro, Takano's getting rage baited. Those were Rena's last words.
さて、最後はさとこちゃんね。あなたは殺しても殺さなくても、でもあなたは生きた研究資料だからね。東京はあなたの生きたままの捕獲に懸賞金をつけてくれてるわ。大した額じゃない。私の取り分はせいぜいヨーロッパに旅行に行ったら消える程度よ。まあ生け捕りにしてもあなたは結局はろくな目に遭わないけどね。生きたまま頭蓋を切開されるのが関の山よ。 それに私、あなたとはお友達だったしね。この場で撃ち殺してあげるのも優しさかと思ってる。どっちがいい？
そんなの決められるわけないでございますわよ。
Satoko shouted back at her. Her eyes were full of tears.
じゃあクイズ。ブロッコリーとカリフラワー、緑色はどっち？
いえ、ブロッコリー。
Pow, as soon as I heard that same dull sound, Satoko stopped moving. Takano smiled and said, "Good girl," to what used to be Satoko.
本当に今夜は月の綺麗な素敵なよね。あなた、そして私を殺すのね。ええ、殺すわ。女王感染者の死体が作戦の鍵なの。あなたはここから遠く離れた東京の地での醜い政治的勢力争いの具になるのよ。そして鬼ヶ淵村の伝説のピリオドとなる。私をどういう殺し方にするか、高野の勘。あら、わかるの？言ってみて。
I'm not going to say it, but I know. It's Watanagashi. She wants to do the real Watanagashi using my body. I'm sure she's planning to cut open my stomach and pull out my guts. To do that, she'll make me inhale some chemical to put me to sleep. I vaguely remember that part.
想像がついてるようね。じゃあ、おやすみなさい、リカちゃん。
One of the dogs approached me with a handkerchief soaked in a chemical substance.
待ちなさい。みんな潔く死んだのに、あなたは命乞いなの？違うわ。私を殺すなら眠らさずに殺しなさい。
Takano hadn't expected to hear that. Oh, maybe being put to sleep is what makes her forget. Still, even though she was surprised, she nodded with a slight smile. Hanyu was also surprised to hear that. It would obviously be a terrible way to die.
どういうつもり？楽に死ぬ気がないの？辛いわよ。生きたまま腹を裂かれるのは忘れないためよ。
Yes, I'm doing this so I'll remember. I'm not going to forget
あ
about
な
it.
たが私の腹を裂くの。私は魂に刻みつける。それを私は絶対に忘れない。あなたに再び会った時、あなたが敵であることを思い出すために。何を企んでるやら。でもあなたは他の子たちよりは少しは賢明みたいね。1秒でも長生きすれば悲鳴を上げるくらいのチャンスはあるかもしれないからね。でもそうはさせないわ。
They forced something other than the handkerchief inside of my mouth. It was a gag. With that in, I couldn't close my mouth, leading my saliva to start overflowing. Soon, another van arrived. More mountain dogs came out of it. They had probably come to get rid of the bodies. They grabbed the corpses of my friends and stuffed them into body bags. After that, they sprayed a bunch of water on the ground to clean up the blood. They asked Takano how many shots she fired and started looking around for the bullets. They were erasing all the evidence. By the time the night was over, there'd be no more proof left. They pulled my hands behind my back and bound them with handcuffs. My ankles were tied up too. They also tied my ankles and wrists together. My body was bent like a shrimp, and I was no longer able to walk. My mouth was covered so I couldn't even talk. I couldn't move, talk, or express myself in any other way. They had taken away everything that made me human. Therefore, I wasn't human anymore. I was just a toy named Rika Frude, a toy to give Takano joy. The car started moving. It seemed like we were going back the way we came, but I didn't care anymore. As the time of my death approached, some of my forgotten memories came back to me. That's right, I was killed like this so many times. Every time I repeated my life, Takano got pleasure out of killing me. Somebody rubbed my head. Were they trying to comfort me? I shook my head to try and refuse. They laughed at me as I did so.
Tika!
Shut the fuck up, useless bitch. Hanyu showed up. She couldn't hold back her devastated tears.
ダメでした。ダメでした。また。
No shit, it didn't work, cause you do nothing! You're literally fucking, like, actually just watching TV show, bro. You stupid bitch. Fucking ghost powers to do what? Watch the fucking local village gardener fucking planting their fucking dandelions? Dumb bitch. How about you fucking do any scouting? When I saw Hanyu's painful tears, I was convinced. I was wrong. Hanyu is not just a bystander. She's just too scared to face reality because she can't stand the pain anymore. Hanyu wants a happy future too, but her hopes were betrayed countless times and she was hurt far too much. For some reason, seeing her sorrowful expression calmed me down. Perhaps Hanyu was crying in my place.
いいのよ、ハニュ。私たち、あれだけ努力した。精一杯頑張った。もう一息で、運命を覆せそうな予感すらした。それでも届かなかったなら、それにね、なんだか気持ちいいの。
I never fought this hard in my life. I've never learned so many things. Because I can repeat my life endlessly, I've been taking each one for granted. But everyone else is taking their life seriously. I wasn't learning anything because I wasn't doing that. But I finally understood, or understand. I learned something from this life and I put all my effort into it. So, I'm sad that I didn't make it, but I feel satisfied just the same. It's a strange kind of satisfaction. I wonder how many of these memories I can keep. I get the sense that I'm going to lose my memory of this evening. If that's the case, I will lose my memory of seeing Takuno's face. I finally found out that Takuno is the mastermind. Am I going to repeat the same world again, not knowing the truth? She killed my friends as if she were merely killing some bugs. I don't want to forget that. No matter how hard my death will be, I need to remember Takuno's face.
私はくじけない。この記憶がたとえ引き継げなくてもいい。がむしゃらに生きていく。6月の狭い日々にしか生きられなくなり、最後には綿流しの日にしか生きていられない存在になってもいい。それが私のせいなら。僕も忘れません。きっと覚えてて、もしリカが忘れていたら。羽生、あなたはやっぱり冷たい傍観者のふりをしていたのは。
Wait, this bitch fucking knew?
怯えていたからなんだよね。僕もみんなと楽しく過ごす未来に行きたかったです。
And you start to cry like a baby. She's so stupid. True. She decided to abandon hope because she didn't want to deal with the sadness that she always felt on this night. But she ended up hurt and devastated anyway. Hanyu, are you happy that this world is ending just like you predicted? I decided not to ask her such an unpleasant question. The car stopped and two men pulled me out of the vehicle. We had returned to the Furude Shrine. There were several men waiting in front of the offertory box. Nearby, there were countless sharp knives laid out on the ground. They were going to cut open my stomach with those tools and pull out my intestines. They took off all my clothes, they left the gag inside my mouth and the handcuffs around my wrists. I wasn't embarrassed to be naked in front of them. Rather, I was just furious that Takuno was getting joy out of doing this to me. Don't forget this humiliation. The pain I'm about to experience should be carved into my soul forever. I'm not going to forget this. Everyone worked together and we finally revealed who was behind it all. If I forget this, my friends' efforts and deaths will have been in vain. I need to stay alive as long as I can so that I will remember the pain.
羽生、目を背けないで。あなたも見ていなさい。そして心に刻んで。僕にはそのくらいの協力しかできないのでしょうか。触ることも喋ることもできない僕にはそんなことしかできないのでしょうか。それで十分よ。あなたが目を背けないでいてくれたなら。
Anya nodded and sat right next to me while continuing to cry. We then looked up at the night sky together. The moon was shining brightly as if it's taking pity upon me. We also looked at the faces of my murderers. That beautiful moon was gradually stained red. It's getting cold. It's so painful. I'm consumed with the fear of not being able to do anything about this. But Hanyu is right next to me. That gives me comfort. It's not just Hanyu either. Everyone is here with me. Everyone is there watching me so I can stand this torture. That's why it wasn't painful. I didn't struggle. I didn't care about Takuno's crazy laughter. This was such a wonderful world. We didn't overcome this fate, but I have no regrets. Of course, I'm still sad. I'm disappointed. My future was right in front of my eyes. My hand could almost reach it. Even so, we did what we could. I have to be proud of myself. Keiichi voiced his disagreement. He still felt that we could have done more. We were almost there. We almost defeated this fate. We didn't win, but not because our enemies were strong. We didn't win because we didn't try hard enough.
でも、みんなは心を一つにして頑張っていましたのです。
Yeah, you didn't try at all, though, bitch.
僕は見ていました。
Yeah, that's all you did. You just watched.
全部見ていましたのです。
いや、足りてなかったんだ。運命を打ち破ろうとする意志が全員で結束できていたなら、必ず奇跡は起こせたんだ。
そうなんだよ。全員が信じたなら必ず奇跡が起こせるんだよ。さとこもリカちゃまもみんなよく頑張りました。ごめんなさいですわ、リカ。あなたが打ち明ける勇気を見せてくれたのに、私はあなたを救えなかったですわ。
Satoko held my shoulders and cried.
そうよ、みんなで力を合わせたわ。それでダメならありがとう、本当にありがとう。多分あまたの世界と同じ死を迎えるのに、この死を代償に私は。リカちゃん、違うの。奇跡が起こらなかった理由、
Rena spoke
レナは知ってる
gently,
よ。
but she wasn't smiling at all.
ねえ、本当にみんな奇跡を起こそうと信じてた？未来を望むとき、全員が信じてなかったら奇跡は起こらないんだよ。
何言ってんだよレナ。俺たちは結束した。運命を打ち破れることを疑わなかったぞ。なあミオン。
うん、そうだよレナ。誰も運命に勝てないなんて思わなかった。リカちゃんのこの運命を覆したいと思う。
そうですわ。
It's Hanyu.
リカですらそれを信じましたのよ。最後の最後にリカは私たちを信じて運命を打ち破れると信じましたのよ。もちろん、でも信じなかった人がいると思うの。誰がです？
What? Who can it be?
ねえ、あなた。
Rena turned to Hanyu and asked her a question.
あなた信じてた？
Exposed, you fraud!
運命に打ち勝てるって信じててくれた？
Doubter?
触れることができなくても、喋ることができなくても、信じることはできるんだよ。あなたも信じてくれたなら、きっと奇跡が起きた。僕が信じて何が変わったのでしょうか。僕は何もできない非力な存在なのです。僕は見ていることしかできない、受け入れることしかできない。そんな僕が信じるだけで奇跡が起こせたというのですか？
ああ、起こせたな。
Keiichi stated it clearly. He wasn't trying to blame her, he was just stating the truth.
そうだね。あの時こっちは6人だった。向こうは7人だった。あなたが信じてくれてたら、それだけで心は7つだった。だったならきっと奇跡が起きた。奇跡はね、触れたり喋ったりで起こすんじゃないんだよ。信じる気持ちが起こすんだよ。
Anya had realized that this ending wasn't caused by fate, it was because she didn't believe. In other words, this happened because she was so weak as to accept this fate. She started crying again.
名前も知らないあなた。あなたにも悲しみや辛さと戦う勇気が必要だった。あなたも運命と戦う勇気が必要だった。あなたが望んだなら、みんなが望む世界にきっと行けた。それがあなただけが信じなかっただけでたどり着けなかったなら、それはあなたの責任なの。
It was hard to believe Rena could say something so harsh. Her words were piercing Hanyu's heart, but those words were necessary for me and for her. Only faith can create miracles. That sounds like something you might hear in a fairy tale. It's not easy to put into action. People suspect others. They don't trust others. It's easier to not have hope. It's so difficult to believe. That's why faith can make miracles happen.
僕は触れないのですよ。喋れないのですよ。そんな僕でも 信じれば奇跡が起こったというのですか？だって今こうしてレナとあなたは話しているよ。私はあなたと言葉を交わしたのはいつもあなたがいるのを知っていた。あなたに言葉をどうすればかけられるか考えていたよ。私たちが楽しく遊んでいる時、あなただけが輪の外から眺めていたことを知っていたんだよ。だって輪の中に入りたくても僕は誰にも見えないし話しかけられないし、僕を見たらみんな化け物だと言いますです。僕はもう二度と化け物と言われたくないのです。
誰が言うよそんなことを。俺たちと一緒にいたなら俺たちは仲間だ。
Oh my god, new CG.
そうですわよ。仲間のことを化け物呼ばわりなんて失礼しちゃいますわ。化け物かどうかは容姿じゃなくて心で決まるんだよね、シオン。そういうことです。まあその見地から言えば私の方がよっぽど化け物ですよ。頭に角が生えていても僕は化け物とは呼ばれないのでしょうか？身体的特徴で化け物なんて誰も呼ばないよ。むしろキュートなくらいだよ。
レナに気をつけろ。変に気に入られるとお持ち帰りされるぞ。
I realized then that I was standing with everyone looking down at my own body. I see, I'm finally dead. I looked at my bloody body by my feet. It upset me that Takano was still enjoying the torture, but the body that remained was nothing but a shell.
大丈夫かリカちゃん。
死んだ人に大丈夫かとは変な話なのです。
Everyone smiled wryly. It's my first time feeling so much love and death. Everyone is already dead. That's why I feel so happy to be dead to join them. Suddenly the world got darker and my body started to sink downward. I could feel myself disappearing. I still had the sensation of my friend's hand on mine.
行こうぜみんな。
そうだね。行こう行こう。あなたもみんなという言葉に含まれてるんだよ。ほら、いつまでも泣いて
Bro,
ない
if
で。
she remembers all this, next chapter better be every step of the way Takano getting foiled. And everybody survives. My vision had gone dark, but somehow I could still see. Rena offered her hand to Hanyu, and Hanyu slowly took it.
あなたが私と出会う前にどんな悲しいことがあったみんなは絶対
Even
にあなたを受
Satoshi?
け
No,
入れてくれる。
motherfucker. Rika can only go back to like fucking this June. She can only go back 2 weeks, not fucking a whole year.
僕がいても楽しいでしょうか？僕はみんなに受け入れてもらえるのでしょうか？うん。だからおいで。
Rena touched Hanyu's hand. It felt like everyone else laid their hand on top too. If only they had hands to do so. Let's go, Hanyu. Let's accept the sorrow, so we can embrace joy as well. Believe in the bright future that's waiting for us. The miracle will happen. We will obtain it, okay? Yes, Hanyu said with a definite nod. What's outside of the well? Is it something worth fighting for? What's outside of the well? Is it something worth getting hurt for? What's outside of the well? I'm going to fight and get hurt in order to find that out. I'm sure what's waiting is a beautiful world, even if I get to the bottom of the well again. The key to the new world is my willingness to get out of here. Even if I can get out or not, I will eventually get to the new world. Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 7, Minagoroshi. Damn, okay. We've never had an ending look like this before. What the hell? Alright, Chapter 7 is all done. Yes, sir. That's because this is not the ending. Oh. Think there's more? I guess we just have to wait. Hold up. I'll just wait, I guess. You can finish the entirety of chapter 8 right now. No, I cannot. That shit is like fucking 25 hours. Damn, this is going on for a minute. This shit sure has a lot of staff working on it. They couldn't afford more than like 10 fucking CGs per fucking chapter then? Propan mode? What the fuck is that? What is propanmode.net? That doesn't even exist anymore. Oh wait, hang on. I typed it in wrong. Wow, this thing still exists. It's just fucking piano music. Like random piano files. What the hell? Why does this still exist? Oh, hold up, chat. Alright. Well, my fucking least favorite thing when you order something from DoorDash and they fucking call you because they're confused and their first sentence is asking if I speak a different language besides English because they can't speak any English. Like, brother, why are you... Please, Lord, help me. I am so confused. Like, I feel like it's just like goddamn bare minimum, you know? Like, if you're gonna work, to like know, like, bro, look, bro, no, it's not even like he's done. It's just like basic lines at least, you know? Like, come on, just a couple basic lines. They were literally like, they couldn't understand anything I said. I'm just like they pick up the phone and they were like immediately asking, like, just speaking full Spanish. I'm like, any English? They said no. I'm like, nothing, just absolutely no English, none, zero. What? What do you mean? Just like, give me a little bit, man. Like, give me something to work with so I could be like, oh, the blue car. They were like, blue? Come on, dude. Like, I feel like you should at least know colors in the language. Come on. Like, red, blue, or, like, come on, man. I don't know. Like, come on, dude. Alright. Why don't you learn Spanish? Well, obviously, I could have sent, like, fucking... I don't even know what car is in Spanish. Azul... Caro? I don't know what the fuck. Caro? Is it Caro? Yeah. It's like, aquí por la azul caro. Like, what am I supposed to... I don't fucking speak Spanish either, bro. You know, like, so, like, what the fuck, man? Anyways. Aquí por el caro azul. Like, yeah, it's just... Oh, my lord. What is this? Emergency Manual 1. If the existence of a terminal patient L5 is confirmed, the Institute Director must resolve the situation before the L5 begins engaging in antisocial behavior. However, they must ensure that the secret remains hidden. To that end, the Director may also request assistance from the Secrecy Preservation Unit. As for the Secrecy Preservation Unit, they may request permission to fire from the Institute Director if necessary. All effort should be made to secure the L5 subject is alive, but if that proves obstructive to maintaining secrecy, their life may be forfeit. At all times, maintaining secrecy and preventing exposure will be of the highest priority. However, preserving secrecy will take priority over preventing exposure. Emergency Manual Appendix 9 FAQ. Question: can Emergency Manual 34 be administered if an outbreak of L5 occurs, putting matters beyond the control of the Secrecy Preservation Unit? Additionally, is the Institute Director responsible for determining what constitutes an out-of-control situation? Yes. If an accident occurs and a hazardous material, the H170 series, is exposed to the public, can Emergency Manual 34 be administered? Yes. If an accident has occurred and the nature of the institute is revealed to the public, the Secrecy Preservation Unit will take steps to resolve the situation. However, if this information is spread too widely, can Emergency Manual 34 be administered? Additionally, is the Institute Director responsible for making that decision? Yes. The decision to execute Emergency Manual 34 must be carefully deliberated over and sanctioned by an official. However, in the case of emergency, does the Institute Director have the right to make the final decision? The execution of Emergency Manual 34 must be sanctioned by an official at all times. However, the Institute Director may petition the urgency of its use to an official. Emergency Manual 34. Reproduction or removal of this document is prohibited. This manual may only be read with the appropriate permissions. This manual will only apply upon approval by the highest authority. Nothing short of official authorization shall count as approval. Furthermore, those authorized to apply this manual must make their decision as soon as possible when it is required. If the situation threatens to spiral out of control and the officials accedes that this is the case, the EDA Institute must make the final decision to preserve the secret and prevent its detection by others. The following is an outline of how to execute that final resolution. Terminate all patients above L2. Destroy all evidence inside the Institute. Conceal the fact that this manual was administered. The contents of this manual must be executed by the Institute Director within 48 hours of the incident. If the Director is not available, the Chief Officer must execute it in its place. The Institute Director may demand support from the Chief Officer in executing this manual. this manual is expected to be executed, the chief officer may issue the preliminary orders. Final resolution must be executed in the following steps. Disguise the incident as a natural gas disaster and quarantine the area. The quarantine unit must disguise themselves as police officers and isolate the Hinamazawa region from the outside world. The official explanation must be that there is a gas disaster within the village. The equipment for the operation will be stored at a vacant lot where Yaguchi Quarry used to be. The equipment must undergo routine maintenance. In the event of external breach or internal escape, if they do not respond to notice of the gas disaster or disasters to evacuate, use of firearms is authorized. The approval to use firearms is given by the Chief of the Secrecy Preservation Unit to the Chief of the Traffic Blockade Unit. Shutting down communications. The Communication Sabotage Unit must ensure that all forms of communication, including a radio, have been disabled in the Hinamazawa area. They must take care not to fall under suspicion, and communication must be disrupted for a minimum amount of time. The facility belonging to the telephone company is inside of the traffic blockade, so any civilians inside may be shot and killed. The Chief of the Secrecy Preservation Unit may be given permission to use lethal force to the Chief of the Communication Sabotage Unit. Assembling the infected carriers. Secrecy Preservation Unit must assemble the infected populace in the Hinamazawa Regional Disaster Shelter. Refer to the enclosed documents for gathering procedures. Upon assembly, the unit must count the number of the infected and confirm that everyone is present. Be sure to not allow the infected to expose the true nature of the gas disaster. Additionally, the infected must not be allowed to bring any large personal belongings with them. However, they may take their valuables, including bank books and cash. Infected who refuse to assemble may be shot, but the Chief of Secrecy Preservation Unit must carefully consider the decision to do so. Terminating the infected. Once they are assembled, the Secrecy Preservation Unit must terminate all of the infected. Before that point, care must be taken to ensure that they are not suspicious of the story of the gas disaster. Be sure that they are treated as humanely as possible. If any problems occur, the unit has approval to fire their weapons. The Chief of the Secrecy Preservation Unit must also take that decision. Bodies with gunshot wounds should not be placed together with those that have been poisoned. Concealment of the Institute. The Institute Concealment Unit must collect all of the classified items referred to the 193 items in the appendix in the Institute in order to suppress the evidence. Refer to the appendix for more detailed instructions. The research staff at the Institute must assist with this operation. This unit must exercise extreme caution as they will be handling a number of toxic substances. Strict quarantine must be maintained of the concealment block. The airproof door must be welded shut and the underground area must be flooded. The entrance to the area must be welded shut and concealed completely. Furthermore, the concealment block will be completely removed within 3 years. The Institute Concealment Unit must eliminate all civilians who would try to approach the Institute. The use of firearms is not permitted except in emergencies. The Chief of the Secrecy Preservation Unit may give the order to fire. Searching the village. The Secrecy Preservation Unit must search the whole village for any survivors. Any person who was not present during the assembly must be found. Any survivors found after the termination of the infected may be shot immediately. However, if the survivor is willing to surrender, do not shoot and instead take them into custody of the Secrecy Preservation Unit. The unit must then terminate the captive using the same method as the other infected. Okay, is that what? I think Keiichi died later, right? After he survived? I think. Yeah. So they probably poisoned him later. Post-mission, transferred to General Forces. Transfer the job to the official disaster recovery team. Make sure not to arouse suspicion. Complete withdrawal. After the completion of all operations, the Secrecy Protection Unit will retreat from the Hinamazawa area. They must be careful not to be suspected by the disaster recovery team. Furthermore, the Institute will continue to secure the concealment block until complete removal is finished. The Queen and her carriers. It is assumed that the pathogen has the same characteristics as the creatures such as ants. There is a queen of the carriers of the disaster just like there is a queen ant, and this position has been passed down the line of the Furude family. This assumption is made based on the legends and ancient writings that have been passed down in the village. It is already confirmed that the carriers have a tendency to protect their queen. Additionally, the queen carrier can only survive within the boundary of the village. Probability of outbreak. As ordinary patients will become ill when they travel far away from the queen, it's assumed that the further and longer they are away from her, the higher the chance of symptoms occurring becomes. Also, mental state plays a strong factor as well, and it's estimated that those who are especially emotionally unstable or show strong yearning for their home are more likely to exhibit symptoms. It is believed that the Takano relaxation method is the most effective means of suppressing symptoms, but if the patient still shows no improvement, only returning them to their home and the queen will be effective. Concerning terminal patients. Terminal patients, as they suffer from an extreme persecution complex, are incapable of functioning within society. Cases of arson and murder have been confirmed. They may present severe
Happy
problems
New
for their
Year's,
units.
Baldmaster XDD.
Hey, Mr. Slice, thank you for the 62. I saw you playing ranked, buddy, on League. Did you hit Emerald? Saw you spamming Bard support. You gotta play the carry roles. That's what happens when the wife is not home. Yeah, same. I just hit Emerald this morning, I think. I don't know if I should keep pushing for Diamond, though. There's only like 7 days left in the season or whatnot, so. They may present severe problems for their units. Nah, not worth. Records show that terminal patients appear in Hinamizawa and they will not recover even if relocated near the Queen. You're gonna hit Emerald and stop. Therefore, the decision to dispose of the problem must be made as soon as possible. It's recommended that the infected be quarantined before they start behaving irregularly. We suggest tracking down those formerly from Hinamizawa and placing them under a special medical observation. The collapse of the carrier community. For the aforementioned reasons, we predict that should the Queen carrier die, infected villagers will exhibit terminal symptoms on a village-wide scale. Terminal symptoms will begin showing within 24 hours at the earliest and 48 at the latest. For that reason, the final decision must be made within 48 hours. Based on the size of the village, neither ordinary officers nor the military police may be able to control the chaos they may bring. We believe the best response is to treat them as an armed anti-national uprising and immediately suppress them with the military. January 1945. Colonel Koizumi of the Supreme Council for the Direction of War from Hifumi Takano. So it was Takano. Either Takano's relatives or she actually is some type of fucking being. Document E420 for the 58th Defense Commissioner and TechCom 733 Commander. TechCom 733 is hereby ordered to be on standby within 24 hours, armed for urban suppression. Her dad? Yeah, it could be her dad. The company commander must also thoroughly study Emergency Manual 34. Select personnel carefully with the preservation of secrecy in mind. Additionally, test the effectiveness of the vaccine with the support of the National Research Center of Infectious Diseases. Employ those with positive immunity. 23rd. Document E711 for the 58th Director of the NAHS. Attention Equipment Testing Company Commander 733. The National Research Center of Infectious Diseases. Infectious Pathogen Department Suite 13. Official seal omitted. About the Hinamizawa Syndrome. This is information regarding the Hinamizawa Syndrome. The Hinamizawa Syndrome is an infectious disease caused by a virus. There are no initial symptoms. Instead, their onset begins when the patient's emotional state becomes unstable or if the queen carrier dies. The main symptoms of the illness are hallucinations and emotional instability paired with an extreme persecution complex. Furthermore, patients are frequently unaware of their own mental abnormalities, making identification outside examination nearly impossible. The only way to do so is by observing symptoms indicative of terminal abnormal behavior. In many cases, patients engage in antisocial behavior, which is the largest issue created by the syndrome. This behavior is caused by hormonal factors, as this disease mainly affects the mind as opposed to the body. In the end, the patients will experience extreme irritation in their lymph nodes and they will claw at their throats or wrists. This is the only symptom that is recognized by the patient. Important points regarding the sterilization operation. This is an advisory notice for virus control. The pathogen is an airborne infectious virus. Therefore, no effective preventative methods exist and inoculation is required. After the mission is completed, all staff members must take a medical exam and those with positive test results must come forward. Be cautious when interacting with the carriers. Even after inoculation, any contact with their bodily fluids will cause infection. Do not come and take a direct contact with them. If assumed infected, individuals must use a testing syringe and test themselves for the disease. If you feel an extreme irritation in your lymph nodes, it's likely you have the terminal symptoms. In that case, you must get tested immediately. If test results come out positive, inject the treatment medication C120. If the irritation persists after 10 minutes, use a second injection. If there's still no change in symptoms, seek treatment at HQ. Do not use C120 if your test results are not positive. If used on a healthy body, symptoms of high fever, rashes, dilated pupils, and hallucinations will be observable within 10 minutes. If this occurs, one must seek treatment at HQ. Government officials explained the entire situation in a luxurious meeting room adorned with a marble table and crystal ashtrays. The chief cabinet secretary was in a panic. He'd never heard about any of this before. Feelings of panic were only natural. One girl's death was going to drive 2,000 villagers into a frenzy. Hearing that a disease like that exists was surprising enough. But on top of that, it was secretly researched for military use, and now there was a horrific situation caused by the director of the local research institute engaging in embezzlement.
そんな危険な病気、初めて本当に治療の手段はないのか。はい。国立研究所の説明では、重度感染者の発症に対する治療法は確立したばかりで、全住民への対応は事実上不可能とのことです。最短で24時間以内。長くとも48時間以内に甚大な被害と影響が予想されます。
The danger of this Hinamazawa syndrome was explained over and over again to the chief secretary. He didn't have anything more to say, but that didn't mean that he could blindly accept it either. He simply couldn't believe that the only way to resolve the situation was to kill all 2,000 infected villagers.
そりゃ大変なことになるのはわかるけど、住民を皆殺しにするなんて。そんなのそもそもなんでこんな危険な病気を隠蔽して研究なんかしてたんだ。そもそもそういう事態を招いたのはその関係の連中の責任じゃないのかね。第一、こんな危険な研究は今や日本の国益に貢献しないどころか損ないかねんぞ。どうして昭和の58年までこんな馬鹿げた研究をしていたんだ。報告書によれば研究目的のために撲滅を意図的に遅らせていたそうじゃないか。しかも汚職をめぐるトラブルの果てに、これはテロだよテロ。東京の老害だ。こんな研究を支持していた人間、いつまでも大戦の亡霊に取りつかれている連中を追放したまえ。これは東京の海を出すいい機会じゃないのかね。
責任者の追及は必ず行いますが、それより前に対応を考えなければなりません。
A man standing by the window slowly turned around and opened his mouth.
総理、ご決断。滅菌作戦を承認しない場合のシミュレートを聞かせてください。
はい。今から36時間後には村人のほぼ全員が末期発症。末期的な被害妄想に取りつかれ、反社会的な行為を行います。想定されるのは自殺、殺人、放火、強盗、強姦。治安の完全なる崩壊です。騒動はおそらくひなみ沢地区のみでなく周辺地区へも波及します。結果、世界規模での注目を浴びることになるでしょう。民間の独自調査の結果、奇病が原因であることが発覚するのは食い止められません。野党は奇病の対応の不手際を清掃の具に次期選挙を有利に運ぶでしょう。また東京内でも総理の対応に批判が高まるでしょう。彼らの指示は総理の列島改造に欠かせません。そして何よりも軍事目的での研究が政府内部から暴かれる可能性があります。これだけは断固阻止しなくては我が国に致命的信用ダメージを与えかねません。
逆に滅菌作戦を承認した場合はどうなりますか。
はい、自然災害を装いますので、やはり対応の不手際の野党追及は避けられません。ただし奇病研究について発覚することはないでしょう。もし万が一奇病の軍事的研究が世界に発覚したら、我が国はアジア地域でのイニシアチブを完全に喪失します。他国の援助を受ける政党は一大キャンペーンを張るな。売国どもめ、そうなれば野党の政権奪取は必至だよ。日本は宣戦布告なくして。シミュレートの結果では第2党第3党が連立した場合、国際世論は我が国を一斉に非難。国連に対し NBC 兵器開発疑惑の査察を要求するでしょう。 近隣国は政府主導でバッシングキャンペーンを展開。高支持率を背景に対日外交を強硬路線に転換します。我が国は政治的焦土と化すでしょう。
国際信用はペンペン草一本残らんということかね。くそ。つまりひなみ沢地区と周辺自治体の数十万人だけの問題では済まんということだな。しかし全てを闇に葬るための犠牲が2000人とは多すぎる。日本国内において生物兵器研究が行われていたことが露呈することだけは、私はどうやら大戦の亡霊の尻を吹く羽目になりそうですね。滅菌作戦は計画通りに隠密で実行できるのかね。滅菌作戦が発覚すれば奇病研究以上の大スキャンダルになるぞ。
はい、ご安心ください。それにつきましては、自衛隊内の機密保持に特化した専門部隊が当たります。このような事態を想定し、研究と訓練を重ねた部隊です。万一の失敗はありえません。
都市沈黙戦という言葉は初めて聞きましたが、これはガスによる虐殺のことですね。自衛隊にガス戦を習熟した部隊があったとは驚きました。
ガス防護を知るにはガス戦を知らなければなりません。ガス虐殺に備えるにはガス虐殺を知らねばなりません。装備実験隊は日本国が受ける可能性のある全ての攻撃に対し日夜研究を重ねています。
He let out a small sigh. He couldn't see the line between ethical and unethical. Can any research be justified by the excuse of preparing against hostility? But that's also what preparation was all about. Some evils must be accepted as necessary. The Idiot Institute was one such evil.
明かせぬ研究を葬るために明かせぬ方法を取るか。罪悪感の伴う任務だが、単位から事実が漏れ出すことはないのかね。
ありえません。隊員は第一空挺から精鋭を選抜し、さらに実戦はこれが初めてになりますが、連度は極めて高く、内部の機密保持も問題ありません。
まさに暗殺の専門部隊ですね。
総理、どうか緊急マニュアル第34号の執行にご決裁をお願いいたします。
防衛庁長官、この作戦は必ず成功しますか。事件が大騒ぎになる前に食い止められますか。いえ、犠牲者を最小限に抑えられますか。
はい、総理。すでに予備命令を発し、作戦準備に入っております。ご決裁がいただければ直ちに出動して作戦に入ります。
私には人口2000人を虐殺する命令など下せません。ですが内閣総理大臣として。
総理、胸中をお察しします。
長官、どうか犠牲者が一番少なくて済む方法を選択してください。2000人がどうしても治療できないなら、不必要な犠牲者が出ないよう
はい、ご決裁を感謝いたします。必ずや朗報をお持ちいたします。
2000人の犠牲が朗報と呼べるならですがね。奥野君、東京の皆さんに近日中にお会いできる席を設けてください。今回の件について。わかりました。ところで、その問題の研究。いえ、服毒自殺とのことです。研究の終了が自身の人生を否定されたものと悲観しての発作的行動と思われていますが、
Bullshit, bro.
何が目的だったやら。彼を凶器に駆り立てた理由は永遠に闇の中ということですか。
The execution of Emergency Manual 34 is approved. June 23rd, 1983. Prime Minister XXXX. Director General of the Defense Agency XXXX.
皆さん、輸送の都合で荷物を持つことはできません。手荷物は禁じます。繰り返します。手荷物は禁じます。現金、通帳、印鑑の類だけを携帯してください。混乱防止のため車両避難は禁じています。
It was the middle of the night, and yet countless villagers were out and about. Some of them were locking their doors, some of them were watering their plants, and some of them were piling up food in their dogs' dinner bowls. Small children were crying in fear. Members of the town council were yelling angrily while counting up the villagers. Reportedly, the village had been cut off from the rest of the world after volcanic gas gushed out from the mountains. The number of policemen and military units in the village added to the strong smell of sulfur in the air, dispelled any doubts in the villagers might have had. The more religious among the elderly were convinced that this was the curse of Rika Furude, who had passed away the day before. They were certain that Oishiro-sama was enraged and that the door to hell had been opened. Soldiers wearing gas masks guided the villagers to the evacuation center.
なんで兵隊さんは皆さんが避難した後の家屋を守るためです。また災害に便乗して商店を襲撃するひなみ沢にそんな輩はおらん。第一小隊避難誘導順調。了解。一個分隊を応援。
兵隊さん、じい様の位牌を持ってんじゃならんがね。
位牌は構いません。急いでください。紹介の方は天候を怠らないように。歩行困難な方は申し出てください。隊員が補助します。
おお、リカちゃまが殺されたからお社様がお怒りになったのじゃ。
お社様、お社様、お社様、どうか怒りをお鎮めください。防災訓練通りに避難しちゃれ。班長は天候終わったら懲戒役員に連絡せんかいね。
鬼ヶ淵から正気が溢れ出したんで、お社様はお怒りだね。
こんなに大勢いるんじゃ助かる方法なんかなかったよ。村で死なせてくれな。大丈夫です。輸送ヘリとボーガス仕様のバスが回されます。必ず助かりますから。みんな営林署へ集まれ。4丁目は違うだろう。郵便局裏の公民館だぞ。皆さん防災訓練と同じです。落ち着いて災害時避難場所に集合してください。団体行動をお願いします。一人の乱れが全体の足を引きます。どうか団体行動を。家には必ず戻れます。
The villagers couldn't see the expression under a soldier's gas mask. They wondered what kind of expression they were hiding under there. Soldiers were, of course, lying to the villagers, knowing that they would never return to their homes again. One such trooper cried under his mask, but the villagers never saw his tears.
引き返してください。車両での避難は禁止されています。この先はガス流で寸断されており危険です。あんたにも硫黄の匂いがわかるでしょう。
Some people tried to leave in their cars so as to take large items with them. However, the quarantine unit has sealed off all the roads leading outside. The gas masks of the troopers and the smell of the sulfur persuaded them to return and obey their instructions. Some of them tried to contact Okinomiya, but their phones would not connect. The lines were busy no matter how much they tried. They simply assumed that the phone lines were overwhelmed because of the disaster. Some of the villagers had access to radios. They tried to figure out what the situation was like outside, but all they could hear over the radio was loud static. It was the same with the television. They couldn't contact anyone outside the village, so they really were totally isolated. And so they had nothing to rely on but the instructions of the police and the military. They were all like moths heading towards the light, never doubting that they would be safe there. One old war veteran listened to the noise from the radio and muttered, As it turned out, he was absolutely correct. However, he turned off the radio when his son urged him to evacuate. The villagers had all gathered at their evacuation points. Some of them were at the school, some of them were at the community center. They were to stay in the building until the evacuation vehicles arrived. Soldiers told them to stay inside so they could keep track of the numbers of evacuees.
万一のガス流に備えて窓はすべて閉めてください。念のため窓ガラスはテープで目張りします。申し訳ございませんがご協力をお願いいたします。よし来た。若いのは率先して手伝え。
People started to seal up all the windows and vents with the duct tape that was handed to them. They completely sealed every opening, even as they heard the disquieting conversation of the soldiers. It was long past 3 a.m., but everyone was wide awake with fear. They were having an extremely long night. Coincidentally, the end of their night had almost arrived.
お社様のリカちゃま、リカちゃま、お社様、お社様。
やっぱりフルデ神社の鬼隠しはお社様のお怒りの先触れだったんだ。
あの日、フルデ神社は鬼の国に飲み込まれたんよ。リカちゃまは鬼たちに腹渡を食らわれたんじゃ。
They all started saying that the gas disaster was caused by the curse of Oishiro-sama, and Rika's death and the mysterious disappearance of her friends and the two detectives were also the result of the curse. People started talking about being demoned away. They had no idea that Keiichi and his friends' short battle sealed their fate for that night. The more religious villagers have become convinced that the children and detectives went missing because they volunteered to become a sacrifice to calm Oishiro-sama's anger after Rika's death. They didn't know the truth. They couldn't know. Not one realized that Keiichi and his friends' efforts had all been in vain. Indeed, in Hinamizawa, everything that happens is the will of Oishiro-sama. But why did it have to be that way? Before the series of mysterious deaths occurred, no one really used the term the curse of Oishiro-sama that frequently. In other words, who set them up? People in this village were set up to believe that the curse of Oishiro-sama happens every year. They really are just too superstitious.
サンサ、全小隊が点呼を終了しました。遅れていた自主避難者もさっき最後の家族が合流したようです。全員揃いました。
そう、いよいよね。お社様のたたりが現実となる。お社様の生まれ変わりであるフルデリカを綿流しにするという冒涜によってお社様の怒りが村に下される。それでこの5年間の連続したたたりは本当の神罰に昇格される。もう誰にも事件なんて呼ばせない。これは荒ぶる神の怒りなのだから。始めなさい。
中隊長より全隊員へ彼らのために1分間の黙祷を捧げよう。サンサ、1分だけご許可を。
お好きになさい。
Takano gave him a disparaging laugh. The company commander crossed his heart and began to speak.
天に召します我らの父よ、罪なき彼らをどうかお導きください。彼らの尊き犠牲がそれ以上の犠牲を防ぐことをどうか報いてください。そして願わくば罪深き我らをお許しください。我らが今日ここにあることをお許しください。
Company commander isn't Christian. In fact, he doesn't follow any religion. However, he prayed because he felt he needed to ask someone for forgiveness. He wasn't even sure if he was saying it correctly, but he still prayed to God. He asked forgiveness for committing his sin and continued to pray. Takano was speaking in a soft voice. She was talking to herself.
神がいつ降臨されるのかは誰も知らない。それは例えるなら泥棒がいつ訪れるのかわからないように。だから予期せずしてその時を迎えて不信心であったことに歯ぎしりすることがないよう、エセ預言者たちは神の降臨を声高に叫ぶであろうが、それに惑わされてはなりませんか。
One man heard her murmurs.
マタイの福音書ですね。
そうなの？祖父の好きだった言葉よ。報われる日がいつ訪れるかわからないから常に勤勉であれって言葉だと思っていたけど。
今日が報われる日なのですか？
そうよ。あなたにはわからないでしょうけどね。
None of these soldiers find it weird that the psycho bitch is laughing when 2,000 innocent people are being murdered.
失礼ながら主の降臨は慈悲深いものであるべきだと信じています。このような日にそれを例えられることは冒涜かと思います。
Thank you. He was trying to tell her that using that verse of the Bible was inappropriate for the occasion. However, Takano simply laughed as though she had heard something very funny.
ごめんなさいね。あなたは神に試されなさい。私は今日を境に試す側となるのよ。
以上で黙祷を終了する。
And with the end of the silence, the order was given in as hollow and reluctant as a manner as an order can possibly be. Now my
今
ideals.
こそ私の理想はすべて完成した。文字通りの理想郷がここにはある。ここでは私は神で、私のたたりは永遠に刻まれ、語り継がれるのだ。
People were packed into the classroom. They were afraid. The troopers closed the door of the classroom. The people inside had no idea why they were doing that. However, they didn't suspect anything at all. One old man walked up to the door to open it because with it closed, it was far too hot inside the room, but he collapsed all of a sudden. His wife tried to walk over to help him, but she also collapsed. All of a sudden, then, other people also started collapsing inside of the room. It really was a very odd sight. What would make for a good example? It would be pretty amusing if they were dominoes. However, they were human beings. People sitting by the window watched this strange event happen before their eyes. They opened those eyes wider to try and understand what was going on.
ダム戦争をきっかけに長き眠りからよみがえった荒ぶる神が不信心なる者を綿流しの聖夜の旅にたたりを下してゆく。その一年一年の積み重ねが神の復活、お社様の意向の復活、たたりを恐れるという原始的恐怖への回帰。
Door creaked open slightly and someone on the other side threw 3 spray canisters into the room. More people started to collapse, even those at the window. This wasn't something that was happening only in one room. It was happening in all the other rooms too. It's happening in all the evacuation centers. People's dreams, their hopes, and their futures were taken away so quickly and easily.
そして誰もがお社様のたたりを疑わなくなり、完全に復活した我は古きムクロの腹を内より破りて、今こそこの世によみがえる。お社様の怒りに触れるとき、地獄の釜が開きて正気があふれ出し、人々は逃げることもかなわず、ことごとく生き絶えるなり。その最後の審判が、たたりが、こうして実現した。
There was commotion in the reception room by the principal's office. Someone had figured out what was going on, broke the seal off the window, and escaped outside. Other people tried to remove the seal on their windows too, but they collapsed in a matter of seconds.
あなたは死んだら何が残る？身は腐り、焼かれ、骨は砕かれ砂になる。大地の肥やしになる以上の何が残せるの？
応接室で脱走発生。4名が窓から脱出。発砲許可。撃て撃て撃て撃て撃て撃て。
Soldiers shot the people who tried to escape in the back. The sound of the gunshots echoed in the silence. It was a noise filled with cruelty. They helplessly fell down to the ground. Their deaths were so pitiful compared to the silent deaths of those before them. The residential police officer was one of the escapees. He tried to shoot back at them with his own gun. His shots could be heard throughout the building. The soldiers ducked into the shadows upon hearing the noise. The officer seized his chance and ran towards the gate, but that was just a waste of time. Not only is the range of the automatic weapons they were using longer than the length of the schoolyard, but as trained professionals, it would be nothing for them to shoot him from that distance. The villagers had no choice. Either they'd die from the gas without realizing what was happening, or they'd find out about the mission and be killed.
どうした？反撃されたか？応答しろ！
脱走者は全員射殺。銃声は駐在警官が反撃したものです。
射殺隊を回収しろ。一般犠牲者と一緒にしないよう注意せよ。
Soldiers walked over to the 4 fallen bodies. They needed to make sure that they were all dead, not just injured.
私は残した。名を残した。偉業を残した。たたりを残した。私の存在はこの長く封鎖されるこの土地で神格化されるだろう。そして近隣の町にて今日のたたりを逃れた者たちはたたりを恐れ、その恐怖を人々に語り継ぐだろう。人間の群れの記憶が私を超越した存在へ昇華させるのだ。
第一小隊より本部、営林署の滅菌を終了。脱走者4名は射殺。
第二小隊より本部、滅菌終了。脱走者なし。
第三小隊より本部、脱走者10名以上、現在相当中。制圧は時間の問題。
第4小隊より本部、滅菌終了。脱走者なし。
第3小隊より脱走者13名、全員の滅菌を終了。了解。機密保持部隊の全小隊は確認を厳重に行われたし。
Takano was laughing to herself inside of the van. She didn't physically see all those people dying silently. But she saw it anyway. She saw countless people dying without even noticing it. She saw it all in her mind. Takano waved her arms in the air. No one was watching her, but no one would understand what she was doing even if they were. She was waving her baton. Takano was pretending that she was the conductor of the silent funeral march.
サンサ、滅菌の完全終了を確認。通信妨害を終了しますが、よろしいですか？
ええ、いいわよ。
施設処理部隊より定時連絡。機密搬出と溶接封鎖を完了。現在注水中。
交通封鎖部隊より定時連絡。封鎖線は異常なし。
通信工作部隊より定時連通信妨害を終了。電話施設の現状復帰を開始。
Takano was paying no attention to those reports. She continued to sing the melody of an orchestra. One operator spoke to
ご
her.
機嫌ですね。
ええ、最高に気分がいい夜よ。あなたには聞こえないでしょうね。この新しい神を称える賛歌が。
賛歌。
Takano laughed loudly, spreading her arms wide.
そうよ。称える歌。神のいなかったこの地に新しい神が誕生した瞬間を称える賛歌よ。このひなみ沢には神などいなかった。お社様という名が残るだけ。神がかつて存在した痕跡が残るだけのただの古ぼけた土地だった。その地に私は再び神を取り戻させたの。どういうことかわかる？わからないでしょうね。今の世界にたたる神が何人いる？人が試すことに耐えられる神が何人いる？一人もいやしない。それを私がたたった。
Takano laughed as if she was the only one who could comprehend what she was saying. None of the operators inside the car could comprehend her laughter. Takano was satisfied to know that.
たたりなきは神にあらず。たたるゆえに恐れられ、恐れられるゆえに崇められる。それこそが神の真実。神が信仰を生み出すのではなく、信仰が神を生み出すのなら、神にたたりなど必要ない。でも太古の神々はたたったのよ。では神のたたりとは何なのか。それこそが真の神の証だった。たたらない神など人間に見下された神でしかないのよ。神の宿らぬ抜け殻の土地に神が確かに存在した痕跡を見た私は思ったわ。これは天の啓示だと。ダム戦争が終わるまで明治から100年にもわたりひなみ沢は神を失ってきた。それを私が蘇らせろという神の啓示だと私は思ったわ。そして天は私にありとあらゆる力を貸してくれた。天が与えたわずかの偶然が積もり、芽生えたたたりの芽を私が育てた。育まれたたたりは今や結実し、そうよ、わかる？つまりは今宵は収穫祭。お社様の伝説に刻まれたこの日が訪れたからこそ、お社様の存在は今こそ絶対となる。あなたたちは今は分からなくてもやがて知る。私が成した偉業がどれほどのものか、どれだけ長く語り継がれるか。神はたたる。そのたたりを私は起こす。
Yeah, but Takano, nobody in history will know it was you, bitch.
今こそ我はお社様のたたりなり。我をあがめよ、たたえよ、そして恐れよ。我が紡ぐはたたりにあらず、我が紡ぐは歴史なり。歴史はたたりを語り、我が存在を永劫に語り伝えるであろう。我こそはたたりなり。肉でできた身を超越せし者なり。今こそ我は永遠を得たる。 我が身を呪えよ人間たち。身が朽ちれば後には何も残せぬ無力さを呪い、そして我が偉大さを知るがいい。我こそはお社様なり。今こそ神の領域に至ったものなり。我は肉体が滅びようとも永遠にこの地で語り継がれるのだ。我はお社様。我こそはお社様のたたり。我をあがめよ。たたえよ。そして恐れよ。我が紡ぐはたたりにあらず、死にあらず。我が紡ぐは歴史なり。歴史はたたりを語り、我が存在を英語に語り伝えるであろう。
This is actually the greatest fucking LARP ever.
我こそはたたりなり。
Hanyu's reaction of watching this, she's just like, bitch, what am I then?
この身がたとえ朽ち果てようとも、我が紡ぎし歴史は永遠に残り続けるであろう。今こそ我は永遠を得たり。我が身を呪えよ人間たち。身が朽ちれば後には何も残せぬ無力さを呪い、悔やみ、恐れるがいい。そして我が偉大さを知るがいい。我こそはお社様なり。今こそ神の領域に至ったものなり。我は肉体が滅びようとも永遠にこの地で語り継がれて永遠の生を受けるのだ。
Jesus Christ. This fragment's end. Oh boy. Okay. Hold up, chat. Yo, is DoorDash doing no deliveries? I need some food, motherfuckers! Oh my god. No deliveries right now, what the hell? They're doing pickups only. Bro, what the hell? Alright, let's see here. Wait. I guess Rika finally managed to assemble all the pieces to her puzzle. But we don't know yet if her memories will pass on to her next life. Rika always loses the memory of her death. I don't know if she can retain the memories of what she's discovered. What did you think? Did you have fun? Once you find out the answers, collecting them isn't so fun anymore. You don't agree? I see. You still might find something different by examining some old fragments. After all, the time we have here is endless. We have to find something to play with because there's nothing to do here. For me, playing with these fragments stops being fun when I find out what's inside. But if you can tell me how to have fun with them, even so, that makes you pretty smart. What? You want to know what I play with? I don't play, I'm just killing time. I like to imagine what Rika could have done in order to achieve the future she hopes for. I like to imagine a world that would have been happy for all of them. You found out how those worlds are set up by looking at the previous ones, right? I like to analyze what would need to change in order for Rika to win against Takano. You want to see what's on my mind? Hee hee, too bad. I'm not showing that to you. In that world, Rika and her friends survived their struggle and broke through the fate of 1983. It's just my imagination. It's not for me to share with you. I'm sure the world that Rika is about to create is better than anything in my imagination, even if she's stuck on June 19th, 1983. Bro, that gives her 4 fucking days. I'm sure this now ended world will remain one of Rika's biggest or brightest fragments either way. No matter how much she struggles, if she actually overcomes her fate, it will be the most brilliant fragment of her story. I'm sure the life Rika lives makes for a better story than my boring imagination. You want to know what happened to Rika? She made a decision to redo her life once again with Hanyu. She's trying to live her life with all her might. That's what she learned from this world. Her next life has already begun. I do wonder what that life is like. I'm going there now to check. Do you want to come with me? Could you check the staff room too? Isn't the staff room like fourth wall breaking though? They sometimes say shit that I feel like could be spoilers. Oh, this is, never mind. That's the that's not staff room. That's the other one. Thank you for playing Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 7, Minagoroshi. This time around, the scenario was almost like the answer page in a book of riddles. Or maybe the scenario was like a side dish we enjoyed alongside all the scenarios up to now. You can take it how you like. I just hope you enjoyed it. I was very nervous about releasing the scenario because a mystery is only good when it's still a mystery. The scenario marks the end of that mystery. To be honest, I didn't want to release this chapter for a while. However, way too many similar stories are being published with no answers at all. A book of riddles means nothing if there's no answer page in the back. Coming up with an answer when you have no way to see if it's right or not is a little sad, I think. If there are no answers, you can't get any joy out of reading a book of riddles. I regret to see that there are way too many stories out there that don't offer this kind of joy. That's why I decided to release something that you can compare your answers to for the series. Since this world had a rather irregular presentation, there may not have been many people who reached what might be called the right answer. I was pretty on it, to be fair. I was on Takano's ass for a long fucking time. But it's not really about whether your answer was right or wrong. It's much more about how many questions you raised when reading the story and how many answers you were able to find. No, bro, I was suspicious of Takano very, very early on, okay? Thank you all very much for the solution you've sent me. They were all wonderful theories, and some were thought out so much more than the actual story that I frequently thought about making them the right answer. Also, your support has given me courage to finish writing the 7th chapter of this series. Thank you very much for supporting Higurashi. Finally, I would like to apologize about how I portrayed the Child Consultation Center. I don't know what it was like in 1983, but Child Consultation Centers are not mean places like I depicted in my story. I made the characters look so unfeeling, but in reality, the government today is the #1 hero for us civilians. In fact, those involved with child welfare and youth education are all extremely passionate and selflessly devoted people. I'm sorry for giving them such a negative image in this chapter. The next chapter, Matsuri Bayashi, is going to be the last one of the series. I'm overwhelmed by the pressure of writing the last chapter of Higurashi When They Cry, which turned out to be such a long story. I hope you'll continue your support. Thank you all very much. 07th expansion, Ryushiki. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. Check the chapter 8 intro. You really think they'll hit us with a different fucking opening, bro? We've had the same opening for Higurashi for so long. I don't think there's a different opening, man. Hang on, I gotta install the mod. Let's see. Let's see. Alright, let me use the restroom while this installs. Give me a second. Okay, okay. Hang on. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, shit. Yo, if there's no opening right away and we have to go through 5 years of yap, we're fucking At least let it end with a blissful dream. Oh, what the fucking creepy. Everyone is entitled to happiness. The difficult part is accepting that. Everyone is entitled to happiness. The difficult part is fulfilling that. I too am entitled to happiness. The difficult part is working out a compromise. Wait a second. We got alcohol, boys. Bro, this is... There's no fucking opening. In 10 minutes, bro? Yeah, wow, this doesn't taste that bad. In that study, there was a full-figured old man writing something at his desk in utmost concentration. There was also a little girl sorting out papers on the carpet. She almost looked as though she was playing with them, but the serious expression she was wearing made it clear that she wasn't.
おじいちゃん、資料の分けっこができたよ。
ありがとう。さてさて、どういう結果になったか。
同じ症例の人がこれだけ集まった。全国平均と比べても明らかに異常なくらい。
やはりな。こっちも興味深い論文を見つけたところだ。
It's 3 to 4 hours before the fucking OST?
精神外科と文化についてまとめたものでな。前頭葉に宿主とは別の意志を持った存在があることを予見したものだ。
前頭葉は人間が人間らしくあることを司る部分だよね。
そうだ。人の感情は心が生み出すのではない。
I promise I'm not lying. Well, I think we should save chapter 8 for when we get to chapter 8, boys, alright? You drink the bottle like a twig? Fuck you, bitch.